What's up, guys? It's Casey Zelgman, aka the Fourth Sanderson Sister, coming at you with another Hocus Pocus theory video. In today's video, I'm looking at another piece of the Sanderson Sisters legend that was falsified, that a couple of you pointed out in my other video, which you can watch by clicking on this thing right here. I actually intentionally left this one out so I could do a deeper dive into it, since it was such a big story point, hey, guess what? That's what we're doing now. I'm going to tear open the legend of Billy Butcherson that was greatly exaggerated, what I think happened, and look at who is actually responsible for it going as far as it did. And no, it's not Winifred. So sit back, relax, and let's look at the tale of Billy Butcherson. So let's look at the original legend first.
William Butcherson? Lost soul?
Billy Butcherson was Winifred's lover, but she found him sporting with her sister Sarah. So she poisoned him and sewed his mouth shut with a dull needle, so he couldn't tell her secrets even in death.
Now let's look at what really happened.
I refuse to marry that lout. If I shall marry anyone, it will be Billy Butcherson. Oh,
What? Why me?
because we are soulmates.
Since when?
Since we shared that kiss in the graveyard.
How did we get from this all the way to that? And where does Sarah fit into the picture? Because we never really heard a thing beyond her saying that they were lovers.
Okay, sure. But, you know, Billy was my lover.
Oh, Sarah, you were just playing.
That's all we got. That's all we got. That's all we got to go on. Let's look at the facts before we get into the speculation part of this, because as usual, I've got very little to go on. When Billy was 16, he shared a kiss with Winifred in the graveyard. If he had no interest in her as a future spouse, why bother kissing her in the first place? It was majorly frowned upon back in those days, especially in Puritan society, to be sporting with a woman if you had no intention of marrying her. Not to mention many, if not all, marriages were arranged, and if you were caught sporting with somebody else's intended, you'd probably be getting in mighty big trouble. We don't exactly have a timeline of when Trask settled on John Pritchett as Winifred's betrothed, but I'm guessing it was a while before he told Winifred. So let's say it was roughly a year or at least a few months long negotiation between Trask and the Pritchetts. As we know, John was less than enthusiastic about the situation.
No.
Oh, praise God. I apologize, Reverend. 'Tis only she is so ugly and unpleasant.
So, here's where I think Billy comes into play. As per the norm around here, I've got to speculate and spin some story points, since, you know, everything before the kiss and in between the kiss and some of the after effects is left for us to think about. John Pritchett likely had a group of men he hung out with, Billy being among them. He tells him his woes of having to marry that unpleasant Sanderson girl, but he'd live with it if he had to. Those guys don't want their buddy being stuck in a marriage with someone like Winifred, so they concoct a plan to get him out of it. As in those days, blame falls on the woman for marital issues, because, yay, patriarchy. So if they can make Winifred sport with a man who isn't her intended, they could wreck the agreement and get John out of the marriage. The only problem was, who'd be crazy enough to do it? The boys would probably end up drawing lots, let's be honest. They'd draw lots, and guess who got the short end of the stick? That's right, it was Billy. So he knew he was going to have to do some rotten things to this girl to get her to sport with him, but he starts kind of battling his own morals, because I think we can gather that, you know, he's not a cad. He's not a bad dude. He just got into a situation that we're talking about now. As his buddies start to notice he's starting to, you know, chicken out of the whole thing, they decide to take matters into their own hands. This starts with fake love notes, strange tokens to Winifred, stuff like that, to lure her into their trap. Once the boys have thoroughly intrigued Winnie with the secret admirer stuff, they tell Billy all he's got to do is sell it and John's off the hook. Billy just doesn't feel right about tricking Winifred like this, but it was for his friend, so he goes through with it. They meet up in the graveyard, he sweet talks her and almost confesses the plan as he starts feeling really bad about the situation again. But before he can do that, here comes the big kiss that entwines their destinies forever, initiated by Winifred. Just like the boys wanted. She snuggles up close to Billy, who puts an arm around her and lets the guilt just kind of sit in his stomach, making him feel all yucky in the tum-tum. The plan worked. Only it doesn't quite go off like the boys planned it. No one was around to be the witness but the boys themselves. Now, how do we know no one else saw this, or no one else knew about it, or at least didn't believe the boys whenever they could have said something? Because when Winifred talks about the kiss in the prologue, everyone's shocked!
Since when?
Since we shared that kiss in the graveyard.
John even seems a little taken aback by that statement. If I had to guess, the boys were likely known for telling some tall tales and getting into mischief, so who was gonna believe them? Besides, they now had to protect Billy from embarrassment. Now they have to come up with a new plan to get John out of this, but by the time they figure it out, oopsie, we're at the confrontation scene. So let's fast forward to when the Sandersons flee Salem. Billy would clearly be in a whole lot of trouble for kissing Winifred, with his parents, with John's family, and of course our good buddy Reverend Trask. Trask and the Pritchetts would believe that Billy is the real reason Winifred refused to marry their son. He made that girl fall in love with him behind their backs. No consultation of courtship with his parents. It was an affair in everyone's eyes. Billy, of course, tells the truth about what he did, why he did it, explaining that his friends concocted the plan. And when the Reverend goes to check with the other boys, they throw Billy under the horse stampede so they didn't get caught. They wanted to do that to keep themselves out of trouble. They didn't think about the consequences of this until, oopsie, here they are. So it's like, do we protect Billy and confirm his story and likely get horsewhipped among other things? Or do we throw him under the bus and make a break for it? They would definitely be picking the second thing. They weren't about to take the blame for this, as they believed they'd never get caught, until they did. Protecting Billy's name flies out the window so they don't take the fall, and they confirm that it was an affair. They even add, to save their own behinds, that he was jealous of John because he liked Winifred and wanted her for himself. So, Billy is now left with the title of marriage wrecker, and he now has to mend his reputation. John, who had no idea about his friend's plan, and now has the embarrassment of being cheated on, technically, and the fact that it was one of his best friends that did it, starts to kind of resent his situation. His good name is starting to become the butt of jokes as the reject of Winifred Sanderson. So that isn't sitting well with him at all. No, it's not. Now we gotta do another fast forward because Winifred advertises herself as Billy's lover vehemently, and he sticks with the one kiss story to the day he rises from the undead and a little bit afterwards. So we are young adults now. Now we're in young adulthood, and Billy has moved out of his parents' home. I like to think that to increase the whole he was Winnie's lover thing, we have a little bit of a creepy stalker situation happening. The Sandersons were driven out of Salem, but they would make trips back every now and then for supplies and, other bad stuff. You know what kind of bad stuff, but we don't gotta get into that because that's not important right now. I have a feeling any time Winifred made a trip in, she'd pay a visit to Billy, who wants absolutely nothing to do with her. But enough people see her sneaking around to find him that the rumors start up. Billy's trying his best to fend her off. even going as far as telling her about the plan. Winifred, instead of being angry, is flattered that he did that to break up her marriage. She didn't want to marry John either. Oh, that just makes her fall further in love with the man who wants nothing to do with her. The important thing to remember here is Billy has been spotted seeing Winifred at his home. They don't know the context of the situation, but she's been visiting him at his home. Why this is important is because if somebody caught her going into his house, people are gonna assume Billy's seeing her intimately. It don't matter if they're having a shouting match. It don't matter if he's trying to get her to leave him alone. If she's going in and they can't see what's happening after that, they gonna think they're doing some things that are a little more PG-13 to rated R, and we're not gonna talk about that. He was already kind of an outcast due to what happened in the past and the lie from his friends. This was just making it worse. Beyond the rumors, though, Billy was leading a pretty good life. He kept to himself. I mean, he probably... I think it's hinted at that he's a butcher, so he's probably running part of the family business, being a butcher and all, but he had, like, no prospect of marriage on the horizon after the whole fiasco. Now, John Pritchett, on the other hand, also had no prospects of marriage just yet, as Winifred's rejection of him put a lot of Salem families off to the idea. Why would they want to marry their child away to him if Winifred rejected him? Eventually, he does get to wed somebody with whom he was, again, just, not too thrilled. But the family would probably have been new to the town, and the Pritchetts were desperate to marry off John at that point. I don't know for sure. Obviously, this is just speculation. It just seems plausible, since John was rejected by whom Salem would consider the least worthy girl in the village. The point here is, Billy is kind of content, while John is not. So, we've got the establishment that Billy is Winifred's lover due to his part in tricking her, the rumors, and her, stalking him, especially that last part. That last part especially. So there's the first part of the false legend, but what about the second part that ultimately caused his demise? Enter Sarah Sanderson and the allegation of Billy cheating on Winifred with her. Let's jump forward just a few more years, because, like I said in the video on how the Sanderson sisters survived the witch trials, which you can watch by clicking on this thing right here, Billy wasn't killed until May 1st, 1693. By that point, the Sanderson sisters are looking a little bit haggard and old, so why would the matter of Billy's love life still lead to his demise? Well, back several years prior, Billy runs into a grown-up Sarah Sanderson. He sees how well she seems to be doing, and Sarah doesn't realize who he is at first, because it's been a while since she saw the man, and I think she only saw him probably once or twice, until he apologizes for playing a part in their being driven from the town. That's when the light bulb goes off, or in that case it would be the candle wick, because light bulbs didn't exist back then. She actually thanks him, as life had been much better since they'd been out from underneath Reverend Trask's thumb. He can relate to that, as Trask has made his life pretty miserable too. They were both glad that the Trasks had been removed from power and replaced with the Paris family. Well, one conversation leads to another, and pretty soon the two do start seeing each other intimately. They've really connected with each other, and when Sarah knows she can sneak away from her home and into the town at night, she visits with Billy, who is always happy to see her. Well, this goes on for a long time, and I mean a long time. Even when Sarah starts looking a little less pretty, Billy keeps on seeing her while dodging Winifred's advances and trying to keep a normal life. So this man's got all kinds of balls in the air. He is juggling all of the things at the same time. But he's been happier since beginning his relationship with Sarah, and he's contemplating marriage. By this point, Billy knows they're witches, but he really loves Sarah and promises to protect all three of them should any accusations come their way. Sarah has been a bit better at stealth than Winifred, so at this point in time, nobody in town knows they're a thing yet. That is, until later, 1693 to be exact, May 1st, 1693 to be exact, when late one night, John Pritchett happens to see Sarah sneaking out of Billy's residence. He'd not had the best years, as his wife was starting to ramble and see specters like so many others in the town at this point, because the witch trials are in full blast at that point. Not to mention a few of his living children's children going missing mysteriously. Can't imagine who'd be behind that. I just don't know who'd be behind that part and who would have it out for John Pritchett enough to, do something like that. But anyway, he, of course, had his suspicions that it was the Sanderson sisters who'd been rumored to practice black magic. But Billy had defended their name, saying everyone was too focused on the past to let go of their prejudice against them. Couple that with the fact that everybody was too focused on all the people in their village and getting property and doing shady stuff with that situation. It just didn't reach the Sandersons. Like I said, go watch the video if you want the full thing there. John sees Billy smiling happily as he parts from Sarah, and John becomes enraged. He confronts Billy about everything, blaming him for how his life turned out. Billy again tells him he did all of it for John when they were boys. John had wanted no part of a marriage to Winifred, and his buddies had tried to help. John, having dwelled on this for years, retaliates, saying that while he hated the idea, he could have made her submit, and he'd have all of his children and grandchildren alive and well, because she wouldn't have been able to do all the stuff she's doing now. He hated that Billy was so carefree that he was able to cheat on Winifred with Sarah, once again, Billy denying the former. It ends in a fist fight between the two, and John vows to out him as the lover of witches. Unfortunately for Billy, John wasn't the only one hanging around that night. Winifred was too. She confronts Billy, accuses him of seducing her sister the way he seduced her all those years ago, which kind of explains Sarah's get-out-of-jail-free card. And, well, you know what happens after that. Billy's body's discovered after John Pritchett brings the news of Billy's affair with Winifred and Sarah to the courts. This is what ends up eventually leading to the Sanderson sisters' death, but again, not until after the trials have concluded. So, everyone believes that Billy Butcherson was Winifred's lover, but she found him sporting with her sister Sarah, so she poisoned him and sewed his mouth shut with a dull needle, so he couldn't tell their secrets, even in death. It was no one person who falsified the legend of Billy Butcherson. It was just a combination of things that led to it being that way. Winifred, while being overly jealous, not even a little jealous, overly jealous, wasn't all to blame for this. John's friends trying to get him out of the marriage pact, Billy getting in the short end of the stick there, him going through with it, John realizing he would have rather been miserable with Winifred than have the embarrassment of the town, and Sarah just, picking the wrong time to head home after a little hanky-panky. That's what brought us the legend that we heard in Hocus Pocus 1. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my ideas, or would you have another theory? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, please remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. It's free, it helps me. What helps me helps you guys get more great content like this. I'm trying my hardest to give you guys theories as much as I possibly can, but sometimes the brain don't work and you're gonna have to settle for stuff like top 10s. You're just gonna have to bear with me. You're just gonna have to bear with me sometimes, because I'm tired. And thank you again for being patient. I know this came out a day late, but that was because I got hit with a migraine on Sunday night and I wasn't feeling very good. I'm honestly not feeling too hot whenever I'm filming this, but I'm muscling through for you guys. So we got some stuff coming up. Most importantly, my birthday stream, the Hocus Pocus Bean Boozled birthday stream, will be happening Sunday, April 14th, here on the channel at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. UK time. I do believe that is correct. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff with that. Let me just get this out of the way real fast. I have a fan mailbox that is now permanent. It is permanent. It is here. The address is in the description. You may start sending fan mail. I'm gonna do a big unboxing, depending on how, well, I use the term big loosely. I'm gonna do an unboxing on my birthday stream so we can celebrate my birthday with that. So it's there for your use. It's permanent. You can send stuff whenever you want. You don't have a set timeline anymore. But if you want it opened by the birthday stream, you got till like April 12th. So get it in the mail. And with that, please just consider sending a nice letter or some fan art. You could do me as the fourth Sanderson sister. You could do me yelling at Winifred for being an idiot. You could do a bunch of different stuff. You could just do pictures of the Sanderson sisters. You could do whatever the heck you want with that. Send some letters, send some drawings, birthday cards, something like that. Don't go overboard with your purchases. If you want to buy something and send it, you are more than welcome to. I will treasure it always, but don't break the bank. Okay, don't break the bank. Don't do that for me. You do enough for me. You do enough for me. You make me feel good. You make me want to do this every week. So that's coming up soon. One of my best friends in the whole wide world is going to be joining me for it. She is looking at a wardrobe for this thing, and I'm so excited. She showed me what she's looking at, and I'm just like, yes, I'm hype. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be giving my Hocus Pocus Bean Boozled trivia quiz, which means you guys get to come up with the questions, submit them to our Discord. Join the Discord if you want to participate in the Bean Boozled trivia to try to trick me as much as you possibly can, because y'all really did get me good last year, and I still got the taste of some of them beans in my mouth. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to do a live Q&A with you guys as well, so come prepared with questions. It's just going to be a fun time celebrating my birthday a couple days early, because my birthday's on a Tuesday this year, and no. Thursday night, we're back on Twitch playing more, and probably the last episode of the Untitled Goose Game. Hocus Pocus, let's play the Untitled Goose Game. Probably be the last episode of that, and then we're going to start playing Hogwarts Legacy. I'm very much excited for that, so if you guys are looking forward to that kind of thing, go give me a follow over on Twitch, and we're gonna have fun doing that. Saturday night, we're back here for more Black Flame Gaming. Mary Sanderson plays Pokemon Heart Gold Randomized Nuzlocke here on the channel at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're gonna have a good time. We had a pretty good episode last Saturday, or just Saturday. Either way, we had a good episode. Mary continues her streak. She continues dominating, being the legend catcher, and it makes me so happy. It just makes me happy. So please tune in for that. If you enjoyed this video, if you're a regular on this channel, please remember to drop a like, share your thoughts on this down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Casey Zogelman, aka the Ford Sanderson sister, and I'll see you witches and wizards later.
I am